Welcome to the Great Divorce Podcast, hosted by divorce financial analyst and retirement planning counselor Andrew Hatherley. Join Andrew and guest experts as they help late life divorcees build the financial and mental foundation for a meaningful future. There is life after divorce. Now, on to the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great Divorce Podcast. I'm happy to chat today with a colleague I've worked with for many years. Kim Smith is a marriage and family therapist who's run her own practice here in Las Vegas for 20 years. Kim works with people in various settings and serves different groups of people. But what's particularly unique about Kim's practice is the use of horses to help with her clients' treatments. I recently had the opportunity to visit one of Kim's offices, and a unique office it is because it's a horse arena. And in that horse arena, I got to meet three of Kim's large four-legged associates, Spot, Cinnamon, and Thor. But more about those guys later. Kim, welcome to the Great Divorce Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
So nice to have you on here today. You know, your special branch of therapy is called what? Equine facilitated therapy.
Yes.
Equine being a word for horses, I guess. Before we get into the nitty gritty of equine therapy, the obvious question I have is how did you come to incorporate horses in your therapy work?
So I started working with clients a long time ago, and I've noticed a pattern through the years that they were really the institutions and so forth were focused on decreasing negative symptoms, and then the person would do that for a bit and then they'd come back to treatment, so they weren't really being helped. It was just momentarily. So I started looking for things that would be more helpful, and anytime I make big decisions I kind of reflect on what helped me, and so I did that. And I remember I don't come from the greatest family, and so I would go hang out with my horses and I would feel better. And I think when you look at me and my siblings, I think the horses helped me a lot. And so I wondered if that could be used in therapy. I researched it and found out it was a viable technique and treatment modality that was research backed. I don't want to just do random things. I want to make sure my clients get quality care. And so finding that it was research backed, that's when I started moving into it and get certified and trained in equine therapy specifically.
You know, just listening to you here talk about equine therapy and how your horses made you feel better. I suppose some people would say the same thing because you see service animals, dogs and cats even, helping people feel better. But I don't think you necessarily see branches of therapy associated. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's certainly not maybe not as prevalent or as accepted in the in your business in the therapy world. What is it about horses that makes them renders them so good for therapy purposes?
Excellent question, because a lot of people assume that I would use dogs because some people do animal assisted therapy using dogs. I chose horses, one, because I love them, but more so because they are prey animals, not predators. So when they get scared, they'll move away. So we can bring our authentic self, we can be mad, we can have all our feelings, and the horses will just move away. The other thing that's so powerful about horses is they are based on energy. If you ever get an opportunity to see real wild horses, you'll notice that they move all in at the same time, and there's not any sounds because their hearts are synchronized. Their energy feels like 8 times them, so they feel a lot of energy, so they pick up on our energy as well. They communicate, they're non-judgmental, they stay in the moment, They're not thinking about dinner. They're not thinking about what happened before. They stay in the moment with us. So they allow us to really work on our feelings and give us immediate feedback if we act in a way that's incongruent or that they feel they don't feel safe around. And
But
then building self-esteem. Have you ever tried to walk a very large horse?
I have not.
Very self-esteem building.
Well, I can imagine. Yes, yes, it's probably more of an accomplishment. That I would feel that's more of an accomplishment for me than trying to put my cat in a harness. Yes. But, but what you say about them being prey, not predator animals, that's fascinating because I hadn't considered that before. And the idea that they would move away rather than attack. I know that people they're big animals. I mean, this is
Mhm.
obvious, but some people are afraid of horses and they're probably not afraid of kittens. So, but are you saying that the horse is actually a gentler creature?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have Thor. You saw how tall he is. He will drop his head down and stand there with somebody who, and I've watched this. This person is crying. Thor walks over to them and just stands with his head down in silence, just comforting in his way that person.
Now, Thor, we should introduce your associates here, and I'll put some pictures up in some of the posts that I do for our
Awesome.
podcast. But Thor is the big guy, the thoroughbred, right?
Yes. Yes.
So he's dark brown, black.
Yeah, dark. Yeah, he's about 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he's a big boy, dark brown. So if our listeners can try and imagine, a racehorse, he
Yes.
actually raced.
Yes, he did.
Now, Spot, tell us about Spot.
He's a quarter horse paint. Um, so these are the more, he would be more typical of what people think of horses. And he likes rodeoing. And so he'll move quickly, but he also does not move quicker than you do. And so if you're going slow, he's going to go slow with you. If you're moving quick, he'll go quick with you. And he just feeds off, they all do, but him more so of because he's got that playful and kind of I don't care attitude at the same time. He's blind in one eye. He's missing most of his teeth. He only has four. Um, but you wouldn't know it,
I didn't realize that when I was introduced
right?
to Spot that he was missing so
No.
many teeth. And,
Yeah.
and tell us about Cinnamon.
That's my baby. So Cinnamon is gated, which means he walks different. So he kind of got a limp. He's very furry sometimes, and he is less social. So if you walk up to him, you have to be calm. You have to be focused. Otherwise, he'll keep moving from you. And so he really teaches us how to stay in the moment, to decrease our anxiety, because he is approachable when your energy is calmer.
Okay, so we're talking about three distinct horses with three distinct personalities. Maybe before we get into the nitty gritty of the horses and divorces and how and how equine facilitated therapy might help people going through divorce and particularly people going through late life divorce. Let's look at these for people who may be intimidated by horses or people may be experienced with horses. How can the distinct personalities, for instance, of a Spot, Cinnamon, and a Thor, how can you determine who may be the best, which horse might be best for each particular client?
I guess it would depend on what they're working on that day.
Okay.
Also, the horses have free choice. So if they don't want to work with you because you're being angry, they won't. Um, but it depends, right? If you're working on your self-confidence, I'm going to have you probably walk Spot first and then Thor. If you're ready to walk Thor, he's an easy one to walk with. If you need to build up frustration tolerance. I'm going to give you spot. They all are caring. They all have demonstrated that they will stay with you in a caring way. It's just depending on their personalities, what you need to work on. If you need to work on clearer communication, I'm going to give you spot.
Clearer communication. All right. So
Yes.
you can be a bit more specific about that. What do you mean?
Yeah. So a lot of times people are talking, but they're not really communicating. And so one of the exercises we do with couples is I'll have one person stand and the other person has their back and they're holding the horse, right? And the person given directions tells them where to go, like walk to that pole. They can't see you. What does that mean? Right? So they have to use specific, walk to the pole on the right. Now you're going to have your feelings about walking to that pole, and that horse is either going to go with you or not. Now you need to communicate with the horse that this is where I want to go. So communication becomes difficult if we don't understand all the nuances. So sometimes we expect somebody to do something easily and it may not. We may not be communicating clearly
Well, of
and verbal
course,
and nonverbal.
of course, communication is often a key. Well, it is a huge component of marriage and marriage breakdown, failure to communicate. So
Absolutely.
the the use of the horses with somebody who's going through divorce or emerging from divorce, how
Yeah,
can they help specifically with people? And if you have any thoughts particularly about older people going through divorce, then great. But
absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's a couple different things that go through that. One is the self-blame and not understanding that a relationship is a partnership and it requires communication from both ends. And sometimes one partner takes way more responsibility and not understanding we only can control ourselves. And sometimes we don't do that even well. But that's our own responsibility. And what the other person chooses to do or not is on them. We show that with the horses. I can teach you how to communicate verbally and non-verbally to the horses, and they're still going to do what they want to do. Now, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond? Right? We're going to teach you not to personalize that,
hmm,
um, set boundaries, how to be okay setting boundaries. And then the grieving process. When we lose something, it's not just that something, it's everything that went with that. What were your plans? What were your hopes? What were your dreams? They're all gone. And you need to grieve those. So sometimes we'll have clients come in and just spend time brushing the horses, standing near the horses, picking up their energy, and just feeling. Because so often we turn off our feelings because they hurt too much. And this is what we work on is healing those feelings. And so we help the horses help move you from that loss, that grief. They allow you to grieve. They stand there with you. Unconditional love. They don't say bad things, and you get to set boundaries with them. Yeah.
that's fascinating. So you're saying the horses don't judge.
No.
I guess
No.
they don't. I know. When you say the horses will do what they do,
Yeah.
could that be a pro? I mean, people who are unaccustomed to dealing with horses, how
I
does that?
know, right? See, the problem I have is how do you explain the color blue to someone who's never seen, who's never had sight? And that's what it's like explaining emotions. And the horses pick up on emotions. And you can be having a bad day. You go out with the horses. I guarantee your energy, your feelings are going to change. I
What,
have people come in all the time grumpy. Let's walk. I don't want to do anything. That's fine. I'll go grab one of the horses and stand there with the horse next to him. It's amazing watching those feelings shift because and there's scientific research on this is that the how the horse's energy changes your energy. And this, because again, that's what they work on is energy. They are in sync with all of each other. I was sitting at the kitchen table looking out at the horses one morning, and they were all eating. Their heads were all down eating. And then at the same time, there was not one sound. Their heads came up and all turned that way at the exact same time. And then they all went back to eating at the exact same time. That's how in sync they are.
That's incredible. That's similar to birds, isn't it? Don't birds have that sort of communication
I don't know
when they're
anything
in
about
flight, moving around, and they all seem to do it in a coordinated
They
manner?
would have to, right? Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah. And they do
fascinating.
it quiet. Mm-hmm.
And,
So there's the power of the horses isn't just their physical power, it's just being around and feeling that loving energy that they give off.
well, I felt that personally visiting your arena and
Yeah.
the time I spent with him. Thor particularly, and I was drawn to Thor, I think because he was the biggest and
Right.
um, he's a racehorse and um I was just drawn to him. And so,
Mhm.
I do not have much experience with horses at all. I've ridden one horse in Mexico uh,
I'm sure he's
many,
trained well.
many years ago. And actually, I went horse riding with a buddy and his wife. And he actually fell from the horse. It was in a river, and the horse kind of fell in his direction. I won't say it fell on him, but it kind of did fall on him. But because he was
Right.
in the water, the
Mhm.
buoyancy prevented him from getting his leg crushed. Um,
Good.
but you
But
know,
that won't happen in my sessions. Okay.
no, 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 it won't. But certainly, um, I don't think I went to your arena in a grumpy mood, but I was certainly in work mode. It was the middle of the workday,
Mhm.
and just spending time with such a powerful yet gentle animal in the fresh air
Mhm.
changes your mindset. And I can certainly see how there's an element of building self-confidence there because if you can interact with a creature, for instance, how much does Thor weigh?
A bit over 1,000 pounds.
1,000 pounds. Okay, so that's about 7 times what I weigh. Um, so just interacting with a creature like that and having a positive or even neutral response can
Mm-hmm.
build a level of self-confidence. And then just walking with him,
Mm-hmm.
it encourages you. It builds a positive momentum. I think we'll agree in anything in life, having a
Yeah.
positive momentum is a good thing. And I mean, I didn't want to I thought I like to ride a horse like this. Now I'm not a horse rider, but anyway, it puts you in a positive, goal-oriented mindset, just to,
Mm-hmm.
in line with what you were
Absolutely.
saying.
And when you're here, you don't think of anything else.
Right, right. And there is an element of having your wits about you as well,
Yeah.
because while these may be prey, not predator animals, everybody's heard about a kicking horse. How do you deal? I mean, your horses were very gentle and there was no kicking, but
So,
horses do need to defend themselves in the wild. So,
mhm.
what's your advice for a person interacting with a horse for a first time, just to have confidence that they're not going to get hurt?
Well, first off, don't ever, ever, ever interact with wild horses. Um, that's why we're losing our horses from Mount Charleston.
Hmm.
Um, don't do that. Now, when you interact with a horse, make sure you know where the owner is and ask their permission because some horses are anxious, like Cinnamon. Sometimes they're grumpy, like Spot, and sometimes they're just playful, like Thor. So you would always want to make sure you have somebody around you that knows that horse. There's actually two of us in the arena, the therapist and a horse person. That horse person will watch for signs and let you know it's time to move away. And we teach you those as well. And so because they can't see right in front or right behind them, we always say approach from the side, let them know you're coming at them, and you touch them and talk to them. And that's pretty just basic. As far as like being behind them, I actually can lay on all of them. Um, but they know I'm coming towards their back because I'm talking to them and moving my hand. And then when I'm behind them, they know I'm back there.
Hmm.
And so they're not going to kick. If they're trying to move quickly away, there's signs ahead of time. We teach you those signs. And again, those are kind of things we miss in our nonverbal communications with humans. So we teach you how to find them on horses, and then you translate that to your day-to-day life. That can alert you to danger, that can alert you to something. Sometimes we don't listen enough to our inner voice that's saying, hey, this is not good. This is not good. We keep trying to change it. And so if you keep doing that with the horses, they're going to move away from you. If you
Hmm.
keep trying to do something that's not effective or working and they're telling you, I'm not liking this, they're going to move away. We will not allow it to get to the point where they're trying to hurt you to get away. We are going to interject and start pointing things out about what the horses are doing so that you can develop that in your day-to-day life as well of like, oh, I missed that they were talking that way and so forth.
Well,
Yeah.
that's very good, and we should throw in the disclaimers you say. Do not interact with wild horses, and if you're unaccustomed to horses, always do interact in the presence of their trainer or owner who knows their personalities.
Yes.
So when Jackie's my wife, when we visited your arena, you shared with us, and maybe you could share with some of our listeners some particularly poignant stories from the interaction of either your clients or therapists also send their clients to you to see, put them in front of the horses, see what they can do, right?
Right, because we do in office as well, and there's two parts of our brain, the thinking and the feeling, and they don't even match up. Okay, so a lot of times we work on the thinking, the skills, and we can't seem to fix it because you're not dealing with your emotions. And so we do the adjunct therapy where we work on the emotions or we practice the skills in true time. And so, I'm sorry, did you want me to give some examples?
Yeah, some
Uh,
examples of where,
okay.
a client's interacting with a horse and you're seeing some benefit to their potential treatment right away. Or
Okay.
not right away, but in the course of their interaction.
And it does actually happen quicker than office therapy, but it's not a magic cure. Some people, when I say quicker, they think it's one time. No. So I could go on for tons of stories, but I'll try and keep it brief. I think that lack of seeing kind of things, the cues, if you will, is really evident in when I'm watching what's going on and I ask the client what they saw and they didn't see the same thing. So, for example, one of my clients was working with one of the horses, and that horse would walk away, and then that client would go to try and get that horse. And this pattern continued where every time the horse walked away, that's what the client was focused on, was getting that horse. What the client did not notice is there was another horse that kept coming up to the client. And so that client was so focused on the horse that was walking away, he did not pay attention to the horse that was right there. And I'll
Mm.
let you put that into your relationships and friendships.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Give me another
absolutely.
story.
Okay. This one just happened recently. This is really, really interesting. Again, what their energies, right? So we had a horse that was laying down. We approached, he gave us permission. My horses always get the opportunity to give us permission or not. And we were sitting there doing some emotional regulation work and talking. And the client was talking about how they stand up for everybody else. And I looked at that client and I said, but you don't stand up for yourself. And she says, yeah, I have a hard time standing up for myself. And then all of a sudden the horse stood up. No inclination. There was no signs he was going to stand up. He was just snoozing. He was fine. He just stood up, shook himself, and walked off. And I looked at her and said, "Now, what were we saying?" And she goes, "I guess I need to stand up for myself." Yeah, you do. See how simple that is? And so, and again, those types of interactions where the horses just do these certain things, I can't explain it, but I can give you tons of examples of where it happens, and it's just amazing when it does.
Well, that's terrific. You
Yeah,
mentioned now you do in-office therapy as well. It's
yeah,
not all your work is with horses.
correct. Yeah,
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, that's all.
So I'm curious, you're in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yes.
Do you work with people outside the state?
As a therapist, no, because my license is only in Nevada. I do have a coaching program from Chaos to Clarity, and that is national.
Okay.
Yeah.
If people want to, now, does that coaching program, if it's national, there probably isn't horse involvement, or can people
Oh,
visit the
absolutely.
arena?
Like, yeah, if you're here in town and you want to do one of your coaching sessions with the arena, absolutely. If you're visiting, I mean, it's Vegas, if you come to Vegas and we just set that up ahead of time and you absolutely could do a session, coaching session with them for sure.
Terrific. And you also have a wellness workshop coming up. This is
Yes.
a live event in Las Vegas in May. Tell us more
Yes.
about that.
Yes, that will be indoors. There's no horsies on that one, but it's a bunch of holistic. We have a holistic chiropractor, chiropractic for life. We have the Coconut Crush. She has healing and skin products. We have Queendom Cultivation. They're going to be doing crystal healing. We have Healing with Stephanie. She's doing Reiki. Yeah, we're just putting this together so everybody can see the different types of holistic medicines and practices and how you can improve your life. Whatever you're working on, whatever resonates with you. So that's the 17th. It'll be from like 8 to 4. Lunch is provided, beverages and snacks are provided because we want to keep you healthy and focused. So there's going to be a sound bath as well. Um, There'll be a lot of healing fun.
Okay, terrific. So if people listening are interested, either if they're in Nevada and they're interested either in your wellness workshop in May, or finding out more about your or working with horses,
Mhm.
or if they're anywhere in the country and interested in your coaching, how do they
Yeah.
get in contact with you?
You can contact the appointment team at appointments@healinghosttherapy.com. And you can also go on our website, healinghosttherapy.com.
Healing Hooves, Hooves. Healing Hooves, Healing Hooves, it's V, not F. HealingHoovesTherapy.com. That's right?
Yes. Hmm.
Terrific. Well, this is certainly a very interesting approach, and I think a tremendous added quiver in the bow of therapy
Yes.
in working with these great animals. And I think it might be a tremendous resource, certainly for other therapists, to avail themselves of your expertise in this area and visit Thor, Spot, and or Cinnamon. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Kim. We appreciate
Well,
your visit today.
thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Gray Divorce Podcast. To learn more or get in contact with your host, you can visit Andrew's website at transcendretirement.net. Also, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Information provided is educational only and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Each situation is unique and should be discussed with your tax or legal advisor prior to implementation. Andrew Hatherley is not an attorney and does not provide legal advice. Information provided is financial in nature. Advisory services offered through Hatherley Capital Management, LLC. Divorce financial analysis services offered through Wiser Divorce Solutions, an affiliated company.